Hey guys, Daniel Alexander and Jordan Green here with Tutors for Transcendence, and we just finished a nice run through Turkey Mountain in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we found this nice pond and decided to stop and do a little bit of meditating and contemplating, and as well, of course, sharing with you guys just some of our experience. And I've had some questions recently in regards to breathing techniques. I mentioned that in another video, and so I thought I'd share a little bit more. Again, this is a topic that really will require hours of dialogue and communication, but just by sharing little tidbits here and there, I'd like to hopefully propel you guys to learn more and do your own research and discovery and contemplation in regards to just that topic, the topic of breathing and the potency of that action of breathing. So, every emotion has a corresponding breath, right? When we're angry, it's kind of this more rapid, accelerated breathing, or when we're calm or relaxed or kind of in joy, it's something like that. Or maybe in love, or sadness. All these different things sort of have their own characteristic breathing result. I don't know how. Let's see.
Breathing pattern.
Breathing pattern. That's a good way to say it. And what it's really showing is that there's everything is connected, right? So the emotional state of your body is going to be reflected by your heartbeat, by your breath, and all of these other internal processes, because they're all exchanging energy, exchanging information. They're all kind of a codependent homeostasis, or a codependent operating system, you might say. So where to go from here? And Jordan, please chime in whenever you have something
Well, in
to say.
therapy, we use breathing techniques, the breath, as a relaxation technique. So if you are getting very anxious or stressed, or reliving any type of trauma, or really sad, you can use the breath as a way to calm yourself down and to find your center and your balance and your sense of peace again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in that kind of finding of your center, we can see that breath is very close to the center of our life, right? The center of our being, and that I've mentioned this before, that we can go so long without food and so long without water, but it's a very short time that we can go without breath before this physical body ceases to work and ceases to exist. And so to touch on a little bit of the metaphor, because the science is out there, and I think what I personally can kind of contribute that is unique in understanding these things is the kind of seeing the pattern, right, in the big picture perspective. And so we can look at this breathing that we do, right? And so we're taking in the oxygen, we're breathing out the carbon dioxide. And I want to put in right here that just something to know. In breathing out that carbon dioxide, that breathing out, that exhaling process is the primary way that the body removes waste carbon, okay? So more than pooping and peeing and sweating and any other excretion, we remove more carbon from our body through breathing. And so, there's metaphors galore when we understand that. Like, we can see that, if we want to become lighter or enlightened, right, then literally we want to kind of remove the more dense carbon structure perhaps from our body and become more fluid and more oxygen based. And oxygen is ionized and has a charge and would actually potentially create this sort of photonic halo surrounding the body, and then we can connect that to these ideas of saints having halos or kind of glowing with light. And perhaps it's just because they're so charged with oxygen. And it's not just like something where you can breathe a whole lot and then all of a sudden you're going to be highly charged, because you have to create the system that can sustain that charge and that can hold that oxygen within its structure. And so again, these breathing techniques, kind of are just stepping stones on that process. It's like working out with muscles. If you want to get strong, you do all the lifts, and you take in the water and the nutrients and the oxygen, and you grow that muscle. But it's just because you well, I'm losing my idea here, but basically, it's a slow growing process. You're not all of a sudden just going to explode with muscle. You have to build and build and build. And so the same with oxygen. You're not just going to all of a sudden be able to retain all that oxygen. You have to build and build.
And build that capacity.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And with, so, we were saying how we're breathing in oxygen, we're breathing out carbon dioxide. So literally that process is the process of combustion, right? It's the process of fire. So when you have a candle flame or a campfire or any, in this case, we'll specifically talk about carbon fire, right? So any kind of fire that comes from wood or a hydrocarbon, gasoline, anything like that, there is this highly charged, negatively charged oxygen atom coming in and in essence grabbing on to this carbon of the material, whatever it may be. And in that process, in that kind of collapse, expansion, vorticimal, toroidal, flowing, implosion, explosion process, there is this flame, there is this combustion. And so literally, we are burning, right? We're breathing in oxygen, we're breathing out carbon dioxide, and it's that breath that's facilitating the metabolic function of the body, right? This sort of burning of the body. And so we can kind of then abstract and begin to see like, wow, we are, on top of that, we're mostly made of water, right? 75 roughly % of water makes up the body. So it's like we're this flame encapsulated by this liquid crystalline structure, this blob of energetic metabolic function moving around in this world. So anyways, getting a little out there. But to bring it back to specifically to breathing and maybe breathing exercises, do you have anything?
Well, I think I would just add that we talked about how the breath is one of the most fundamental ways in which we sustain our life here on this planet. But I also think it's one of the most basic ways in which we connect with our environment and everything around us. One of the most basic ways we connect with the trees, and we have this exchange with our outer world, and we have this inward motion of breathing in and this outward motion of breathing out. In that exchange, you can have this focused breath, but then you can also have this expansion that happens when you breathe. And so there are many different techniques and ways to do that.
Definitely. And so we just went for a run here, and obviously when you exert yourself physically, you start to breathe more, and it's to supply enough oxygen for that metabolic function. And there's something to be noted that when you begin to kind of get in tune with your breath and have intention and actually kind of have that timing with your physical activity, your body will perform much more efficiently. It's like, really it's very similar to the idea of an engine, a combustion engine. The engine of, say, just a car, a vehicle, it has the air intake, it has, the spark, it has the combustion, and it has the exhaust. And so all of those things have to, in essence, be in harmony with each other to create that efficient process. So, we have to breathe in resonance or in harmony or in the right ratio with the combustion, in essence, of our heart, you could say, but really of, all of the blood pumping through our body, right? So we have to provide, bountiful oxygen to that whole combustion process, and then exhale, that carbon waste. Because if we're not kind of exhaling and releasing that waste, then we're going to kind of get backed up, right? And that's not good when a system gets backed up. That's how you kind of get this pollution going on, and we can see that on many levels in today's world and society. Any other thoughts?
Do you want to share any techniques?
Oh yeah, techniques. Well, sure. I think the most basic technique that you can do with breathing is it's called Ujjayi breath, right? Right, Ujjayi?
Ujjayi breath.
Yeah, and that's the Hindu word for it. But you don't even have to understand it in that context. Just it's what it really is it's this idea of you kind of restrict the throat a little bit, and it kind of sounds like snoring, perhaps. And so I'll do a little example, and it really sounds maybe more like when you put a shell up to your ear, you can kind of hear that what sounds like a breeze, an ocean breeze, perhaps. So I'll demonstrate. I'm just restricting my throat a little bit, and kind of sounds like this. And so what that does is it really, it provides this sound, right, to focus the mind, and it provides, a very specific focal point to, again, focus the mind. And beyond that, it will cool the air, right? When you kind of create a constriction, a capillary, it has this cooling effect on air, right? When you go versus, right, the air coming out is much cooler when you pucker your lips a little bit. So it'll cool the breath. It also tends to force it against the back of the throat, which can kind of cool the head a little bit when we get a little hot-headed, a little top-heavy, you might say. And so it's it's like the most fundamental breathing technique, but it's probably the most profound, and it's just really in its ability to bring that sort of meditative state very quickly. So there's probably videos out there that you can check out that give a better, more specific instruction towards that technique. But really, with all these techniques, it's all about intention. It's about taking the mind and focusing it on that most primal and basic, sustenance for our life, right? The foundation of our being, which is breathing. And so,
and the great thing about breathing and breathing techniques and relaxation is that you can do it anywhere. You can do it while you exercise, while you run. You can do it while you're in the shower. You can do it before you go to sleep. You can do it anytime, anywhere. You have the tools that you need with
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a very big and profound topic, and we can kind of look at it on a very, more physical level, and then we kind of can abstract to the more metaphysical, which is still physics. It's the physics we don't understand yet, but this more kind of abstract, big picture level. And something that I just want to add is something to think about, when we're running, right, or when we're exerting ourselves, we're trying to provide enough oxygen to fuel that metabolic process. And so now, if we are sitting still in meditation and still performing that same type of breathing that perhaps you would do while you're running, you are, really filling your body with this energy potential, right? You are kind of filling up all the storehouses. You know, you are creating this heightened potential for combustion or for metabolism. And so, you know, it's that understanding that can see then, you know, when we continue to do that, the body responds as long as, you know, you're doing other requirements such as having a healthy diet and healthy activity. The body responds by being able to store that potential energy, right? To store that oxygen. And again, the sort of metaphysical climax of this practice of intentional breathing is to be, you know, in this state where you are absolutely connected with every breath that you're taking. You have this potent willpower to move through this world, you know, attached to the source of your being. And not only that, but you have become enlightened. You have become so light and full of air that, you know, perhaps you can walk on water, you might say, or really walk beyond the waves of this material experience. So
keep breathing, keep mindfully breathing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for listening, you guys, and we're going to get back to our meditation, and I hope that there was something in there that'll just help you on your path, and it helps us to share. And so, thanks, guys. Peace, and we'll talk again soon.